First of all, welcome to the webinar. My name is Lana Shawnee. Today's webinar is really about showcasing how you can build your university kind of student application profile for the top university admissions. We'll look at why this is important and how you can start building your profile to get to top universities. So firstly, I'll start by actually showing a little bit of a kind of statistics on acceptance rates. So if you look at top universities worldwide, you'll be able to see that actually top universities in the world have quite a low acceptance rate. So for example, Oxford would only accept 13% of the students that actually apply to the university. And then, for example, in the US, such top universities such as MIT, Stanford, Harvard would have around 4% acceptance rate, meaning that fewer of those candidates would actually get an offer. So what does that mean in terms of practicalities for you? So you actually, when you're applying, you're going through a selection process. And that selection process usually has some steps done by the university to look at the pool of the applicants and kind of to weed out the ones that are kind of the top ones from that cohort. So if you imagine the first step of the selection process is looking at the grades. So you'll probably be able to kind of guess that more than 90% of students who apply to a specific subject area or specific course actually would have the grades that are needed for the program. So that would be your school grades or your standardized tests. So for example, for law, that will be LNAT. And then the next stage happens of the selection process is when the selection committee looks at other areas that will probably make your profile stand out, and they start looking at things as personal statements. So they start reading and scoring your personal statement. They look at kind of any of the extracurricular or supercurricular activity that you've done, your recommendations, and any additional essays that you've also written. And then what happens at this stage is that we have some candidates who have been weeded out as well. And to this stage, we have about 30% in the entire candidate pool that have progressed. So for this example, we are looking at a top university, so Oxford or MIT or Harvard. So what happens next is that the committee gets together to have a look at which of the candidates we can actually make an offer to. And at this stage, the universities can interview you. And then after the interview, they'll kind of comprehensively look at your profile. And then after this, 20% of the candidates, 13 and below would get the offers. So this is very roughly how the system works. And the more obviously competitive the program is, which for example, law really is, and depending on how competitive the university is, you'd probably roughly estimate your chances. So what that means for you is that if you want to increase your chances, we need to start looking at things as your personal statement. What are the extracurricular, supercurricular activity that you can actually do to enhance your profile? And this is where the profile building comes into place. And that's what profile building is really about. It's a systematic process. It doesn't happen over one day. It actually happens over time. We roughly say that it needs to take around a couple of years, because you will select different activities, and then you will develop some skills, and you will get some achievements. You'll deliver some projects that can actually be showcased on your application. So it's not a one-day thing. And usually if you're looking at applying, for example, for next year, which we already in the application cycle, it's late. So we are looking at 2 to 3 years before you actually enroll to the university. So what is your applicant profile then? What does it include? This is very, very rough because each university is very different. Each country is different. So we need to start looking at your specific case. For kind of illustration purposes, 65% And above would be your kind of academic excellence, your GPAs, your grades, anything kind of you've done for your kind of main core academic activities. Then your kind of applicant profile would be around your extra and supercurricular activities. So the question here now, if you're applying to the UK or US, because these both countries would have different focus of extra versus supercurricular, and we'll talk a little bit about what is extracurricular and what are supercurricular activities. And the third one is the skills. The skills is everything that you can do with, and skills your competences as well. So everything about self-management, goal setting, communication skills. And these are the things that you can demonstrate through your personal achievements, through your supercurricular and extracurricular activity. It's how you talk about those things that will demonstrate the skills. So we will also talk about the kind of the key elements of a university admission success. It's not about one or the other thing more than anything else. It's really about combination, a balance of different kind of things. So we're looking at, first of all, you really need to know what course you're applying for and which program and at which university. And what we say is this is the core of your success. This is the fundamental of your success, because if you know where you're going and if you have the time and the motivation, 100% certainty you can get there. It's just really about figuring out what's the way to that dream scenario. It's about obviously your academic excellence and your kind of your grades as well, and the standardized tests and your school grades. That's exactly what your portfolio kind of extra and supercurricular activities is. That could be your work internships, your projects, your mentoring, your different additional activity to your school studies. And then we've got your personal statement, where we weave everything in together really nicely, talking about your experiences, your passions, your motivation, your vision for the future, why you want to study this course, and why you would be a really good student for this particular program. Then you might have an interview where you kind of showcase your communication, your problem solving, your engagement with the subject, and ability to present yourself. And then there's references, there's teachers' references. So this is the kind of the comprehensive portfolio that any student wanting to study at a top university would have. So in terms of your academic excellences, we're talking about your grades. If you're not a native language speaker, we're talking about your IELTS and TOEFL, any standardized tests that you need to take, academic transcripts. What I think sometimes is really good to say in your personal statement is your class rank as well. This is what your transcripts would not show, but some of our students actually say that I've got, let's say, 9 out of 10, but actually I was the top 1% of my class cohort. Actually saying that there's some kind of background context to it shows a lot more than just if you said that I got a 9 out of 10. So given that kind of context is really important. Also, some students actually do show their motivation and academic interest in the subject area through different things that they've done, such as independent research projects or online courses, they've done conferences. These are all of the things that they could have done as part of their curriculum, for example, or also additionally. That's their academic excellence. Supercurricular activity is pretty much everything that you do on top of your school. And these are the kind of the two different things, actually, extra and supercurricular. So extracurricular, basically, it's about activities outside of the classroom. This could be hobbies, your interests, volunteering, internships, different events, and work experiences. Supercurricular is pretty much everything also outside of your curricula, but it's related. It's got an academic and it's got that career focus. So it's about clubs, it's about forums, networking activity, it can be Olympiads, different research assistantships and projects. So why is this important? It's really important because knowing where you are applying Is it US? Is it UK? Is it another country or kind of a university within these countries? So basically, if you're looking at kind of top two destinations, which is US and UK, you really need to be aware that both of these countries look for top students, but they look for them in different ways. So US, for example, is looking for students who are very well-rounded, very well-developed, have done so many different things, such as volunteering, they've got different hobbies, sports, athletic achievements. On the UK side, however, they are looking for students who are academically focused. They're looking for that academic rigor and passion and motivation, but also engagement, critical engagement with the subject. So activities for the UK would be super curricular activities, anything that is related to your subject, such as reading books, attending lectures, completing online courses, anything that's related to your chosen subject. And there are lots of benefits of extracurricular. So why do university actually want you to do extra and super curricular activity? Because it develops your personality. It develops your basic foundation competences and skills, meaning that when you do get to the university experience, you're going to be a really prepared student for that. You're going to be very well prepared to take on the challenges of being an undergraduate student. The third big category is your skills. And that's why it's really important to kind of weave them into your personal statement. But skills are not just a category that appears on your personal statement just like that. We need to develop them. We need to develop our critical thinking, our creativity, communication, and hopefully you would have done that throughout your school studies and throughout your study experience. But what also we can do is we can look at different projects and activities, so pick them into your portfolio to actually showcase how you have further enhanced and developed those skills. There are about 11 different taxonomies, but there are about kind of 11 top skills that are being prioritized by Global kind of Education Strategy 2030. So we are recommending to look at kind of these when you are looking at your portfolio of activities. And also we wanted to kind of show different activities that can help you develop those skills. So it can be mentoring, it can be coaching. So for example, you wanted to teach somebody maths because you're good at maths, or you want to teach somebody English literature because you speak English so well and you wanted to give out back to the community. So you've picked up some mentoring or tutoring for international kind of competitions or anything that encourages you to work with other people, to teach them, to support them. Olympiads, different hackathons in different areas. It can be local, national, international, work experience programs. So if you do want to go into law, it can be volunteering or kind of a shadowing experience in a local law firm. For business and entrepreneurs, it could be a kind of a starting their own small campaign or an online store. It could be research opportunities that you could have done at school. Summer programs as well is a really nice way of actually experiencing the country and experiencing the location. And for example, if your school is really, really good and it provides opportunities for things like United Nations discussion forums for global sustainability challenges and stuff like that. So something to engage into. So we've done a list of activities that you can do based on your subject area. So for example, if you want to do business, an example activity could be opening an online store or a small to medium enterprise. So keep selling t-shirts and seeing how much money you can make. Computer science, if you are wanting to do computer science, it can be website development for a local charity for free, but you do get that experience of real life activity. For law, it could be work experience. You can check out if there's Model United Nations, debating societies, or law firm internships. For art, English language and history, any research projects, authorship, blogging, or book reviews would be really beneficial. How to present your experience? Well, this is a really interesting one because a lot of students would have a lot of different things in their portfolio. You're all very talented, you've done so many different cool things, but actually you don't know how to present that. There's different tricks and different formats of how to do that. But what we usually say is that you need to show your results through numbers and the activity that you've done rather than through what you were actually doing. So this is a really good example on the screen of what not to do and perhaps how that experience would look better. So for example, if you're president of a physics club, and you are saying that you were elected president of the club, in weekly meetings, you introduced physics guest speakers and launched school webinars. That sounds good, but actually, if we say that you recruited 60 members, invited 12 physics experts and guest speakers, and that you created 30 newsletters reaching 90% of the school cohort, and organized 30% more volunteering events, and raising £2,000 in local charity, that shows the volume and the gravitas of your achievements. And therefore, that second profile is much more exciting to the admissions team because they see what you've done and what the result of your work was. So now if we go back to what your journey looks like. In the beginning, we mentioned that it's really important to know where you are going, because based on that, you will actually put a lot of effort into planning your journey. And what we say is that building your profile takes about a year, at least a year, where you would look at different activities, you would do them, you would assess, you would reflect, and then you would learn how to present it in your personal statement. Then what happens is that we start collating your documents for your application. That would include your personal statement, that will include your transcripts, and then applying. The timeline for application is kind of different for each country, but it roughly takes about a year. So we start a year in advance. So we kind of do the checks in September, October, especially if you're applying to top universities like Oxford and Cambridge. The deadline for Oxford applications is the 15th of October, roughly. So that's why we need to submit our applications a little bit earlier. Then you might be invited for an interview, which usually happens in January to March. On general, we usually say get three kind of categories of universities. Your top university, that's your first ambitious choice. Then you'd have your insurance choice, and then you would have your safe middle choice. So what we actually do in the beginning, we get you started with diagnostic questions and how we're going to proceed together. Then based on that, we figure out the plan. Based on the goal, we write out the plan of different activities, different options, different milestones, and we solidify that in a roadmap. Then we work through the plan. We iteratively go through different activities, we reflect, we monitor and support, and then we celebrate your achievements. By celebrating, we mean that it's really important not just to write your personal statement and put it all in paper, but also it's really important to actually pause and say, well, I've done so well. And with that, you're kind of psychologically a little bit happier about what you've done and how proud you are of yourself as well. Why it is important to work with an advisor? Well, first of all, securing a spot at a top university is very competitive. There's loads of different consultancies out there and advisors and experts offering you support. But what is really important that our guidance is personalized. It encompasses every stage of your application process, but also different elements within this process. It includes kind of looking at your application in detail, providing mentoring and coaching, looking at your portfolio, looking at your profile building activity, looking at your documents, generally supporting you in your English language testing. We also provide kind of different resources, and what we recommend have a look online, go through different resources, read different case studies. But also what is really important is to kind of get somebody who you trust